Alright, so we're going to try and see if we can't repair this leaking compressor for the air conditioning on the 928. I did already cheat a bit and take the compressor apart, but it's really not too difficult to take apart. Take out the bolt on the clutch here, that comes off. The pulley itself just lifts off, magnets inside of it for the clutch. So not too complicated there. You do have to take off the snap ring at the top to get that to come off. Like I said, it's really not too complicated. And then you just take off these bolts around the top. And once you've done that, you can kind of carefully go around and lift it off. And I went ahead before I even took any of this apart and cleaned off as much grease as I could. That way we hopefully don't get anything inside the compressor. So I'll set that aside there. Oh yeah, this little keyway thing did have to come off before I could get the top of the compressor off. And this little seal here is most likely our fending article. So we'll set that off to the side, because normally the little reed plate with all the valves on it here will probably stay stuck to that. Like I said, since I had already taken it apart, it came out with it now. But we'll just pick that up, and we'll set this here like that, because that's how that's oriented. I think before we get too far here too, there is a seal between these two halves of the compressor body, so we'll see if we can't get that apart here and change that seal. I'm just trying to work our way around a little bit, get a little bit of pressure in it. You can see it's already starting to come apart a bit here. This part right here isn't really critical to the seal. The seal's around the middle. Right here is, though. And that ain't it. That's it. This compressor smells funny. The good news is, too, though, we can put in a R134 seal, and if we ever wind up converting this thing, we should be ready for it. Or it won't have seals that get eaten away. Now it does look like there's a little bit of dirt that probably fell down there when I initially opened it. So we'll see if we can't wipe some of that up. And get one new O-ring. There is an end plate on the back here, but I'm not, I guess it pries off. I'm going to put this front plate on here first. That way there's hopefully something holding the compressor together before we just pull that off, because I don't want anything to fall out. We'll just okay, so we got the O-ring on the top cylinder head on there and lubed up. So we'll set it on here. And I think just having the O-ring in place will at least get us on there tight enough for now so that we can pick the thing up here, flip her over, and I think we can get the rear cylinder head off of it so that we can change the O-ring in here too. And then that should be all of the O-rings in the compressor. So hopefully then, we should be good for years of leak-free use out of this compressor. Let's try to go around here and evenly pry. There we go. There's a lot of this old mineral oil in here. So maybe we'll put some of the, I think we'll try to dump it out and put some of this fresh new ester oil in that will mix well with the any of the existing mineral oil, and it should be compatible with R134. And R134 oil, same thing, don't lose the dowel pin in the compressor, that would be bad. There we go, that's all there is to that. So as usual, there's always got to be something that's being difficult. Right now it's this seal. It's got to go down past that lip there, and so far it is not wanting to. It's well lubricated. It is just being horrifically stubborn. I think it's like this old one is pretty much slipped down right over it. Looks like the ID is about the same on both. This one just isn't having it. So I'm sure there's a picture of this with a circle and a line through it somewhere, but I couldn't get another shaft seal anywhere locally today. I really wanted to get the car back together, so I took apart the new one I got and took a die grinder and reamed that hole out a little bit there where it needs to go over the shaft. So now, if we take that off, this guy, which this little ring is what wouldn't before, fits just nice and snug over the shaft there now. So now, if we put this together, which actually I think we'll put it together on here because it'll make it a little easier to hold that for us, we can get the O-ring back on and get the carbon part of the seal back on, and then we should be in business to put the compressor back together. So we'll make sure it's nice and lubed up. And this compressor is really going to need just about this whole bottle of oil, or the whole AC system is going to need just about this whole bottle of oil. Anyway, so not too worried about getting extra oil down there, because it really wasn't much in it to begin with, and this is supposed to be about 8 ounces in the compressor and 9.3 or something in the whole system. It's probably been leaking for years, and I'm just getting out as much of the old oil as I can, so not be too worried about that. But there we go. So that, you know, how it slipped down over there is exactly how it's supposed to go back together. So now we can get our top cylinder head with nice new seals on it. Actually, we'll wipe off that little bit of dirt that got there. Same as before, lines up with that little dowel. And this time, it should go back down nice since the seal is on. Got our bolts cleaned up with new washers. Okay, we're not really squeezing it in the vise, but maybe it'll be enough to tighten it if I tighten the vise itself. Alright. Alright, so last weekend when we took the compressor off, these little manifolds, you can't get them to the lines that go to them onto these big fittings without the compressor being taken off the brackets and lowered. Well, whenever it's taken off and lowered, it's just sort of hanging there, and those fittings for those lines were on there too good that I couldn't get them to budge. So I just took out the 4 bolts that hold each of these manifolds on and took off the manifolds. So I went down there and put a screwdriver through the hole there and got the lines loose. So now we can go ahead and get some new O-rings on these and get them on the compressor. Buzz off, damn bee. There is that little wick in there, which looks like some sort of weep hole, so I guess if the compressor seal is leaking, it lets you know. But hopefully we don't wind up with any leaks. But yeah, I can't see any other purpose that would serve. So we'll get magnet on. There's a little pin for it to go on. There we go. That little pin there lines up. So this thing's on there now. There's a snap ring for that, so we got to get that snap ring on. Alright, we got our snap ring on in there. So next can be the pulley, and it just pushes on over top of here. Might need a little bit of tapping. Because we want to make this go a little easier, we could grease that a little bit. So there. Those little spacers, they go under the clutch to space it out away from the other side of it. Put this on. Now we've got a gap there. And I think, while we have it apart on the bench, I'll go look up what the spec is anyway and make sure we don't need to adjust the spacers any. Okay, let's try with this spacer. 0.48. 0.508 just fits. So I think that's good. We're a little over 0.5 millimeter gap, which should be right in the middle of the spec. Yeah, that will work. Should let us get the lines hooked up. So this is why I took the manifolds off when I took the compressor off before, and didn't take the lines off, because there's not a whole lot of room to turn them. and it's kind of precarious. Alright, the lines are connected now. I just got to get the compressor up in its home. Oh, come on. It's just tight enough to where you can't turn it by hand. Okay, and here's where our repair to the compressor to be able to get the bracket on it and tension it should come into play here. So, bolts in place here. Not tight, it's just snug right now. Means we can operate the tensioning bolt. We do need the AC belt to be a little tighter than the rest of them, but I think that's good.